past week, obviously the World Cup has completely heated up. We're now into the group stages, we're past the group stages, and we are into the knockout stages. And this year's World Cup is a little bit different because they've added, I guess, like an extra round. So in previous years, it was like a round of 16 to start. Now we're starting with a round of 32. So obviously more opportunities for teams to make the knockout stages. And we've got some crazy first handful of games. Obviously, Canada the other day, crazy win with what? They scored in the 91st minute with the extra minutes of regulation. There was some just ridiculous games on it. I've been a fan of the World Cup. I think this is truly the first year that I'm all in on it. Maybe it's because the U.S. is better. Clearly, I mean, you go and beat Paraguay 4-1 in the group stages. And then, as we'll talk about here, and I'm sure you guys all saw, Paraguay beat Germany. Unbelievable win. But there's just something about it. And it could also be the fact that the World Cup is in the United States. Obviously, it's also in Mexico and Canada. But there's just something about it this year that's more entertaining. And I watched a little bit of it in 2022 when it was in Qatar, which fascinating enough. I completely forgot that in 2022, the World Cup was during the winter time. Started in November, if I remember correctly, which obviously weather has played a factor in the World Cup thus far. It's why they're having the water breaks at the 27th minute of each 45-minute half. But nonetheless, I mean, this World Cup has just been super entertaining, and Team USA plays on Wednesday. But the games that have occurred on Monday, you've got Brazil on the ropes for 80 minutes against Japan, comeback win. You've got Germany. Okay, I think if there was a relation of Germany to a U.S. sports team, it's got to be Clemson, or maybe an LSU, but Clemson over the past couple of years, where Clemson had all this hype, and they're such a historic team. Germany's won 4 World Cups, historic team every year. People are saying, hey, Germany should be viewed as one of the top 4, top 5 teams to win the World Cup. And then when it comes around, they go and get knocked out in the first round or the second round. This has become a common occurrence over the past 4 World Cups, 5 World Cups for Germany. They're a very talented team. They just can't find ways to win. And again, they are playing against a completely outmatched, undermanned Paraguay team, who again lost 4-1 to the U.S. when Christian Pulisic missed the entire second half. But still, regardless, this is not a game that Germany should have lost. Sure, you know what? You're in the knockout stages. Every game's going to be a little bit closer, as we've seen. But you should not lose this game, let alone be trailing for the majority of the game. You could say the same thing with Brazil and Japan, but Japan was sneaky good during during the group stages. It's just so fascinating. So fascinating. But like I said, they are very similar to Clemson in the recent years. Clemson, yes, they're very historic in terms of the fact they've won a couple national championships over the past 20 years, 15 years. But they just you start out the season and they look really good, and then they fall off. And then it's just another letdown. But again, it's just this weird thing with Germany. I don't know if it's a manager change that needs to happen, but you have such a proud country that has historically backed its soccer team, and just seeing these letdowns year after year is got to be infuriating for the fans. As a Team USA fan, obviously, you go to the round of 16. If Team USA were to go to the round of 16, I'd be happy. Now, I think this year, especially with their results during the group stages, I mean, you lose against Turkey, is what it is. You rested the majority of your starters and the guys that had yellow cards, because for those that didn't know, during the group stage, if you had a yellow card, if you got 2 yellow cards, you were suspended the next game. So it just made the most sense. I think Team USA had 3 guys that had yellow cards. You don't want to lose them for the first actual knockout game against Bosnia. So you sit those guys because that resets, so they don't have to worry about that. But Team USA should, knock on wood, at least make it to the round of 16. There's a chance they make it even further, just depending on results of other teams. If they have to go and play Spain, which there's a chance that there's a strong possibility that they will. You never know with how the World Cup's going, but there's a strong possibility, highly likely chance they have to go and play Spain. That's going to be a tough one. That might be where the Cinderella story ends. But if they were to somehow find a way to beat Spain here in a week or so, if we get to that point, I don't know what the entire country will do. It'll be absolute pandemonium. And this is something that I've talked about. We're kind of jumping the gun here. But if Team USA were to somehow beat Spain and, somehow find themselves in the World Cup final, and let's just say on the very small chance they end up winning the World Cup, which would be so cool to see, where do they do the parade? Like, like the US is going to do a parade. Where is it done? Like, this is something that has fascinated me for a while, of like, you could do like a cross-country parade. Like, you started in California and you go all the way across the states and end up in New York or Washington, D.C., or like, do they just do it in Washington, D.C., or do they do it in Seattle? Because it seems like Seattle's kind of like I don't know if it's like considered their like home base, but Team USA's played so many games in Seattle. It's so fascinating to see. So I don't know. I would be very intrigued. Now, obviously, like I said, though, we're jumping the gun completely, and I'm probably thinking way too much about this. But still, like, it's one of those things that baffled me, of like, you're going to do a parade, where's it going to be? But again, that's a subject that if we have to worry about, that's a good reason to worry about, or a good thing to worry about. But right now, just got to beat Bosnia, who is a talented team in their own right. They played really well against Canada in the group stages, but I don't think they have the offensive power to compete with Team USA. But another game that went and occurred today was the Morocco versus the Netherlands game. And we're going to kind of change some things up here. Usually the slice of unbelievable is later on in the episode, but since we're talking about the World Cup, the slice of unbelievable this week is about the World Cup, specifically Morocco. Why? Well, Morocco upset the Netherlands. Even though Morocco was rated like the 7th best team per the FIFA World Cup standings, and the Netherlands was 8th, there was so much money behind the Netherlands, and there were so many backers behind the Netherlands. Nobody thought Morocco was going to win except for me. I have claimed myself to be the largest Moroccan American fan in the United States. Morocco was my dark horse pick to win the entire World Cup. I had no doubt that they were going to beat the Netherlands. Here's like the Netherlands and the Moroccan game has kind of turned into a rivalry in the soccer world, because people, and I actually didn't even realize this until recently, but there's actually roughly 400,000 individuals in the Netherlands that are Moroccan descent. That's like, I think they said it was 4.2 or 2.4% of the entire population of the Netherlands. And there's kind of a rivalry between the two, because over the years we've seen a lot of individuals that are playing professional soccer in the Netherlands but are Moroccan, and they can qualify for both teams. And a lot of these guys, instead of playing for the Netherlands, have actually gone to Morocco instead. In fact, that's the case for 3 players on Morocco's current roster. And there was a individual, former player for the Netherlands, and I might mispronounce his name, but his name is Van der Vaart. Could have completely mispronounced that. But he had actually stated, and this is a direct quote, before the World Cup, that he said, "I'm not trying to be funny, but all Moroccans who aren't good enough here go to play for Morocco." Now, if you're Team Morocco, like, that is the biggest, like, hey, we got to show everybody up. We got to prove a point. And the first 70 minutes of the game, Morocco dominated. They had so many chances to score. It was just so many unlucky kicks going over the goal, going by the goal, just like really the pace was dominated by Morocco, and there were so many opportunities throughout those first 70 minutes that you started going, wow, maybe they've exhausted all their opportunities, and now the Netherlands is going to have just a weird chance. And ironically enough, just a couple minutes later, the Netherlands has a quick little breakaway, and they get a goal to go up 1-0 with the 75th minute or whatever it was, 74th minute. And it was there where I was like, gosh, like maybe they've kind of used all their luck. Or excuse me, the luck has kind of ran out and they've used all their chances. But just right as that like first little bit of oh no started setting in, like Morocco got back on the pace, and then they get right into extra minutes and then find a way to score. And then they go and win in the penalty kicks. It was unbelievable. Now, there's another part of this too, and I think this is why so many people have doubted Morocco, even though, we saw what they did in Qatar, is Morocco's manager has very little experience. I talked about him in the past. He has managed like a U17 team, a U21 team, and really does not have much managerial experience at the quote unquote professional level, especially at the international level. And so there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding Morocco because of him mainly, which is a wild statement. But it's clear that like he knows what he's doing, because since he's taken over as the manager, he's not lost a game. Now, obviously, Morocco's drawn a couple of these games over the course of the past handful of months, but I believe with his win tonight, I believe his record is 8-5-0, 8 wins, 5 draws, 0 losses. And it's give or take a win or loss, or excuse me, win or I know it's 5 draws, but give or take a win. That's really good. I mean, and he's got this Moroccan team playing at a severely high level. And so I said Morocco is my dark horse pick to win the World Cup. I'm sticking with it. And now they go and play Canada, which Canada has not looked very good. Canada won, obviously, their first round game, but they don't have the offensive repertoire, the offensive firepower that everybody was talking about before the World Cup started. And again, like I said, like I was talking about this earlier, Canada struggled against Bosnia. They ultimately won, but I would see Canada struggling against Morocco, and I think Morocco is going to completely outclass them. And I get it was a very physical game for Morocco and the Netherlands, and there's always the chance of, hey, like you played a physical 90 minutes plus extra time plus penalty kicks. But I just think Morocco's on a completely different level. But nonetheless, excited for Team USA versus Bosnia here on Wednesday, and we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully it's a win for Team USA, and they keep on going. But kind of shifting gears here, we're going to talk about the NFL and then finish off with the WNBA. It was announced Monday morning that Chris Johnson is dealing with ALS. It was announced on Good Morning America. Michael Strahan had interviewed Chris Johnson as well as his wife. Super sad situation. There was a report that came out, I believe it was like 3 weeks ago, where somebody was saying that there was a former superstar NFL player that's going to make an announcement that's going to shock the world. And it's because of a disease that they're dealing with. And unfortunately, it appears that it's Chris Johnson. And, it's crazy that I woke up this morning and that's the news that I woke up to. A guy that myself and millions of other kids and individuals just in the United States just like looked up to, and seeing how fast, his health has deteriorated. Sad, absolutely sad. And obviously thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and friends and everybody that's been affected. And it's so crazy. And it's just one of those reminders of just how precious life is. He had started noticing symptoms a year ago. And it just involved like his hand, where he noticed that, and he was talking about this in the Good Morning America interview, that he noticed that he wasn't able to grip things the same way that he had before. And like, him and his wife went in for testing and they didn't expect anything major. And a couple tests later, and the doctors are telling him he's got ALS. And basically, there's an experimental medicine that could extend his life for a couple months, but basically to get everything in order. And it's just crazy because, again, that was a year ago. And now in the interview, he has essentially a machine that's talking for him. And like I said, waking up in the morning and seeing that's the first thing that I saw. I open up my phone and I go to TikTok, and the first video was Good Morning America, Michael Strahan talking to him and his wife. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you absolutely kidding me? And again, it was just so sad. And there's really no words to describe, and I've talked about this numerous times, that we put these athletes and people in the media, celebrities, whatever the case may be, on pedestals of hey, there are heroes, right? We look up to these people. They're superheroes a lot of the times. Truly, when I was growing up, I see Chris Johnson rush for 2,000 yards, and I get it's a game, but I view him as a superhero, indestructible. And then, these individuals are human. They deal with human issues just like you and I. And it's just one of those eye-opening things where it's wow, you really have to take life day by day and take full advantage of it, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And it's a sad situation. There's nothing else you can say other than, thoughts and prayers go out to the family. And it's a nasty disease, and hopefully someday soon there's a cure for ALS, because it's affected too many people's lives, and you just hope that one day, and hopefully in the near future, we get a cure. Kind of shifting gears here. I know we're kind of all somber and whatnot. We're going to stay in the NFL. Brandon Sorsby. I've talked about Brandon Sorsby for the past handful of weeks. We're going to continue to talk about Brandon Sorsby because it seems like every single week there's something new that pops up with Brandon Sorsby. The NFL is not doing the supplemental draft. They're not allowing it. They actually sent a memo saying that basically your actions, that being Brandon Sorsby, not good enough for college, not good enough for us. You can't bet on college games while playing for the team that you're betting for. We're not going to allow that. So the NFL actually said, hey, we're not doing a supplemental draft. You're going to have to wait till 2027. Brandon Sorsby, not going to be playing college football. Brandon Sorsby, not going to be playing in the CFL. Why is he not playing in the CFL? Because the CFL banned him. Basically saying the same thing as the NFL. Hey, your actions are unbelievable. We're not going to reward you because of what you did in college. Brandon Sorsby hired his specific lawyer to prevent a situation from this happening. It's still happening regardless. Could he sue? Sure. Will it work? Probably not. The one league that has been very quiet and hasn't really said anything, and I think they're going to take advantage of the opportunity because it's right here in front of them, the UFL. The UFL has been designed to be the summer league or spring league for the NFL, regardless of if that's what they're marketing or not. You see it every single year. As soon as the UFL season's over, the NFL poaches a bunch of rosters. Do those players make the rosters? More often than not, no, they don't. But still, it's truly the NFL's poaching these rosters, and it's like a G League like the NBA. Brandon Sorsby's probably going to go to the UFL if the NFL upholds their part, the CFL upholds their part, and colleges still say that we're not going to play Texas Tech if he comes back. He'll go to the UFL. He'll dominate the UFL. I think he'll be in the NFL. Eventually, Brandon Sorsby will find himself in the NFL. I am 100% certain of that fact. Will it be this year? I'm less confident that that's going to be the case. But Brandon Sorsby is too talented of a player for every single NFL team to overlook him and say, no, we don't want to touch it. I think eventually the NFL is going to allow Brandon Sorsby into the league. Especially, you go 1 year in the UFL without any gambling issues. I think the NFL will say, okay, you're talented. You made your mistakes. You've fixed it. Here you go. Now, on the flip side, the NFL could always say, great, like keep playing in the UFL. We don't want you. But I think that's a lot less likely. So, it's a situation that is going to be ongoing. And I think we'll continue to see updates each week, each couple weeks, and over the next couple months. This is not a situation that's done just yet. Now, shifting over to the WNBA. We're rocking some WNBA gear that I got at Nike just last week. I was actually in Beaverton, Oregon at Nike's The Opening. That's going to be a really fun episode for you guys. Talked with Clifford Taylor IV. It's my guy, as well as a handful of Nike athletes. So Bryce Young, Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams, great dude. Love Jamal Adams. The vibes were incredible. Jerry Jeudy, Kawan Lacey, there was, I think we got eight NFL / college players, 10 NFL / college players. Like, it was a good time. And just actually seeing the opening in person, you know what? We're going to talk about this real fast. I know next episode is going to be all about the opening and being there, and we recorded at the opening. But for those that don't know what the opening is, Nike's The Opening, is essentially a 7-on-7 tournament of the best high school football players across the country. Some are 3 stars, some are 4 stars, some are 5 stars, some are guys that have been completely overlooked, like a Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley was inducted to the Nike's The Opening Hall of Fame, as well as Kyler Murray, as well as Jamar Chase and Derrick Henry. What a squad. Actually standing next to those 4, because they were in this auditorium in the Tiger Woods building on Nike's campus. Them coming out and standing there, and Saquon's right here, Derrick Henry's right here, Kyler Murray's right here, Jamar Chase is right here, and it was oh my gosh. Of course, I'm standing there waiting for Saquon to walk by me so I could do a little, go birds. But ultimately he walked the other way. But I'm freaking out. I'm oh my gosh, Kyler Murray. Here's Kyler Murray. I'm taller than Kyler Murray. Not shocked, but it was just wow, I kind of stack up against these NFL players. Then I see Derrick Henry and I'm yeah, no. No, I know I played quarterback, but I couldn't imagine a linebacker meeting Derrick Henry in the hole. That's just not it. That ain't it. But yeah, so it's basically they had a West team. I believe there's 6 teams. There was West, Northeast, Southwest, South, East, Midwest. The West team ultimately won. That's the team that I was cheering for. But it was an unbelievable experience. And it was the first time that the opening has been on Nike's campus and has been a thing since 2018. I believe they did one in 2019. Bryce Young was telling me that it was in Dallas. So it was the first year that it wasn't actually on Nike's campus. Nike's campus is beautiful, by the way. I've basically figured out how to walk around Nike's campus. This is my second time going to Nike's campus. I was actually at Nike's campus literally the same time last year. Same exact week. But this is a really funny story. My Uber driver kept dropping me off at different random spots at Nike's campus. There was a specific address that I gave him, and every single time I Ubered from my hotel to Nike's campus, they gave me a different spot. They dropped me off at Mia Hamm building or parking lot, the LeBron building, some other building, some other parking garage. I was at Coach K's building at one point. I needed to go to the Tiger Woods building. And so, over the course of 3 days, I'm I already kind of had a good idea of walking around the campus, and actually you're there and it's you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I got to I've already seen the entire campus, but I got to know it really well. And honestly, I could find any building without, this is a wild statement because I've only been there 2 times, but I could find any building at Nike's campus without any help from any maps. I've got this locked. I know where Ronaldo Field is. I know where the Bo Jackson building / field is. Dialed, absolutely dialed. It's hysterical. I was telling everybody, I was I think I could figure this out really quickly. But it was an unbelievable experience. Had an opportunity to talk to Nike's CEO, which is unbelievable to even think about. It was amazing. It was awesome. Nike did an incredible job as always, and Nike's going to continue to do an incredible job. And I'm excited for the opening next year. There's some exciting stuff coming out with the opening. I don't know if it's public knowledge, so I won't say it. I think it's got to be. I'm not going to say it though, just because if it's not public knowledge, I don't want to be the one to break the news. But I'll just say I got to see a really cool trailer. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. It's got to be public knowledge, but I don't know. So I'm not going to be the one to break the news. But we're going to the WNBA. The Valkyries. That's how we get out of that. The Valkyries might be the best team in the WNBA. They absolutely dominated the New York Liberty. It was one of the most impressive showings that I've seen. And this is a team, now the Valkyrie all season have been really good shooting threes. That's a team that they missed their first 8 3-pointers against the Liberty and still were up by like 13 at the half. I think it was like 42-29 they were up at the half against the Liberty. It was a blowout. It was an absolute blowout. They did the Valkyrie have played, I think they were saying 5 games in 8 days or something like that, or 6 games in 8 days. Now, I believe 5 of the 6 have been home games, but these have not been bad teams that they've been playing. It's the Aces, it's the Liberty, it's the Atlanta Dream twice, and they're playing really good basketball, sitting at 11-7 now. Like, this is a really talented team, and I'd put them on the inside track to potentially make it to the WNBA championship. Like, that's how good they are. Now, you never know. You get a rough patch shooting threes because this is a team that lives and dies by the 3-point, the 3-point shot. But like, they're really entertaining. And I'm a Fever fan. Like, they are probably the most entertaining team in the WNBA right now outside of the Fever. Speaking of the Fever, Caitlin Clark, Nike, got a shoe. She got her own shoe. And it is incredible. And I know it's not something that Nike's doing as of yet. You never know. I think you could convince Nike if there's a lot of hype over it with social media. They could be talked into it. Probably not. Like, you never know, though. But somebody made a Grinch colorway of Caitlin Clark's shoe, which I think is the coolest thing ever. And if those were to be unveiled like Christmas time, I would buy them in a heartbeat. I'm going to also buy the Caitlin Clark shoe in a heartbeat. I believe they're called the Caitlin Clark ones. Beautiful shoe. Absolutely incredible design. And they look sweet on the court. Let's just be real. They look sweet. It was wild, though, because when they were unveiled, it'd be about a week and a half ago now, they were playing the Atlanta Dream, and Angel Reese was actually debuting, I guess, a new colorway of her shoe. And obviously, you've got the competition between the two. There's kind of a rivalry. And so it was just ironic that, like, all of a sudden Caitlin's shoe was being hyped up, and then all of a sudden Angel Reese debuted, I guess, like a new colorway of her shoe. Just kind of funny, the whole situation, how it turned out. But again, those shoes are beautiful. And, staying with the Fever here, the Fever game against the Mercury the other night, I'm so fascinated with scheduling with the WNBA because you have a lot of times where teams are playing the same team twice in like the span of 3 days. I've never understood it. It is what it is, though. It's entertaining, and it's so hard to beat a team back-to-back, and we saw that with the Fever. The first time they played the Mercury, they kind of dominated, and Sophie Cunningham kind of became a meme with the whole pointing at I think it's DeWanna Bonner. That whole situation was hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. And, like, now you're seeing all the memes of, like, the one that I got sent a whole bunch because it's a football related one was a offense and defensive lineman pointing at each other when they jump off sides or false start. So funny. But that was a wild, scrappy game. The second one against them. I mean, both of them were, but the second one, Caitlin Clark got essentially punched in the neck. That's a wild rivalry. That is a wild rivalry because you've got a handful of players that have played for the other team. You got Sophie, who played for the Mercury, DeWanna Bonner, who I believe played for the Fever, and like it doesn't seem like they like each other. I don't know if that's true or not. But if I was a betting individual, I'd say they do not like each other. And I'd also say that the Fever do not like the Mercury and the Mercury do not like the Fever. It's a wild dynamic. That is, I think, the biggest rivalry. That's like the Eagles Cowboys of the WNBA. Truthfully, it's two teams that just hate each other and it ends up with a fight. It's just the past 2 seasons. That's exactly what has occurred. So it's honestly, for me, it's one of my more entertaining, fun games to watch because you always know that like both teams are going to come to play, and there may be a brawl, a fight at some point. But there's a lot of chippiness between those two. But nonetheless, WNBA has been really entertaining to watch. But that's all we got for this week's episode. And again, super excited for next week, getting to give you guys kind of an inside look at the opening. So stay tuned for that episode, and I will see you guys next week. And with that being said, peace.